Last episode ended with the party standing on a crashing airship full of alchemist fire. Meanwhile, an army from another dimension was about to begin invading their city. Plunk, you know how to fly, right? Can you land this thing?
No, of course I don't. Why the hell would I know how to pilot an airship?
You're literally always flying. Isn't this basically the same thing?
What? How are those things in any way the same?
Well, we need to try something or we're all dead.
I'm pointing the ship towards the invading army. If we jump off the side precisely on my mark, then we should land safely on the city wall.
Barashk's plan went off perfectly, and the party was soon standing atop the city wall next to the head of Amberwood's military, watching the airship crash into the Eldrite army in the distance. The alchemist fire detonated, and it wiped out an entire third of the invaders. However, the rest kept marching forward. We'll take out their artillery, you focus on holding the wall. Alright, but their artillery is in the back. How exactly do you plan on getting through their infantry? I think I might have an idea. Jay told the rest of the party to climb into a catapult with him, and he had Volrin launch them at the invading army, which is certainly one of the strategies that exists. And as I began to describe to the players how they slammed into the ground and took a ton of damage, Plunk's player stopped me and said that he would cast Feather Falling on the party. So they landed perfectly fine in the back lines of Alinar's army, right next to the siege weapons. However, just because the party survived the fall didn't mean they were in the clear yet, because guarding the siege weapons were the generals of the army. So a little bit of backstory first. About a year before the island campaign, I had run a different campaign for these same players called the Hunt for the Dragon Fangs. In this campaign, a group of adventurers that included a half-orc barbarian named Imsh, and an Uzian rogue named Guppy had been searching across the continent to find a set of legendary magic weapons known as the Dragon Fangs. After that campaign was over and the party split up across the world, Imsh and Guppy both had traveled to the island, hoping to discover whatever mysteries awaited them. That had been hundreds of years ago, and they'd never been heard from again, until now. Both of these player characters had been captured by Alinar and corrupted into Eldrite abominations. Now, all this time later, they were leading his invasion of the island. Basically, I was making the players fight their old player characters from the last campaign because I'm a terrible, terrible person. Now, to make the fight even better, I'd gone through the old character sheets and converted as many abilities as possible over to Pathfinder 2nd edition, and holy carp, these things were incredibly unbalanced. Most notably, since Guppy had been a rogue in the previous campaign, and did you know that in 5e, rogues can just kind of choose to take half damage from one attack every round because of uncanny dodge? And also, if they ever succeed at a saving throw to take half damage, they instead just take 0 damage from it. I hate him so much. Kill Guppy first. Meanwhile, Imsh had been a barbarian, and I absolutely brought over the ability that makes him take half damage from everything for the duration of his rage. Needless to say, the party got really annoyed at their old characters extremely quickly, and with that, the fight began in earnest. However, while the party was distracted fighting the generals, the battle waged on around them, and it wasn't looking good for the soldiers of Amberwood. For every member of Alinar's army that dropped, they took down 4 or 5 of the defending soldiers, and their onslaught was relentless.
We need to get these siege weapons taken out now!
Plunk will hold the generals off, but we need you to start flinging fireballs at the catapults right away.
Sounds good, boss. I've always wanted to hear what people sound like as they're burning to death.
That's the spirit.
Plunk started to take out the people operating the siege weapons while the catapults themselves burned, but it wasn't helping enough. The city of Amberwood was still losing. However, that's when the Boggard army from the nearby city of Anrakor arrived to help fight the Eldrite soldiers. Last episode, Jay had sent out a messenger to make an alliance with the Boggards, and while that had been a bit too late to help guard the walls of the city, they did arrive at a pivotal moment in the battle, and now the Eldrite soldiers were stuck between 2 armies. The tide was beginning to turn, but the party still needed something to help them win the battle, and that's when a deep roar echoed throughout the forest. Flying above, straight towards the attacking army, was an ancient red dragon. But not just any ancient red dragon, it was the one that Jay's father had captured back in episode 5. After a few strafing shots of dragonfire, the Eldrate army was as good as defeated. For now. As the dragon had appeared, both Imsh and Guppy had gotten distracted by it, understandably. Not for long, just a moment, but that was all that the party needed. 2 quick attacks later, and both of them were dead.
Take that, assholes!
Now that the battle had ended, the party retreated back into the city, and Jay saw that the dragon had stopped and perched atop the clock tower it had destroyed way back in episode 5. This was it. This was his chance to finally meet his father, the entire reason he'd come to the island in the first place, and it was finally happening. He split off from the party and ran towards the clock tower as night began to descend. Barashk, Plunk, and Cercel began heading towards the tavern to rest for the night, but halfway there they found something that stopped them in their tracks. Lying in the street was the corpse of a human in a suit, with his throat jaggedly ripped out and his left eye had been carved out of his head. The party immediately recognized this as Sylvester, the duelist from back in episode 3 who had then gone missing during the bank heist from episode 5. However, his wounds looked recent, and there was a blood trail leading away towards the nearby alley before suddenly stopping. Understandably, the party thought this was a little bit worrying, so they turned around and ran to find Jay. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, beneath the destroyed clock tower, Jay approached his father. "Jay, my boy, I heard you're the new Thief Lord. Does that mean you'd be able to give me a quick little pardon for that bank heist I ran a few months ago?" That's it? Not going to apologize for being a terrible parent, for abandoning me and my mother? She died a few years back, by the way. Not that you'd care, though. No, you only care now that I have a way to help you. I'm a pirate, that's a pretty demanding job, and you seem to have done pretty well for yourself on your own. No thanks to you. You know what? I came all this way, I wanted to find you for so long. And for what? You might be related to me by blood, but you're not my father. Honestly, did you ever really care about me? No. Jay immediately turned and left, leaving Emra behind. But as he turned the corner, he heard a cry of pain from behind him that was quickly cut off. He looked back towards where Emra was, and saw that he was now on the ground with his throat ripped open, and standing above him was a large, hunched creature. It looked like an amalgamation of parts from other beings, with a blood-stained gnoll's head that contained mismatched eyes, arms, and more. It was holding Emra's severed, bleeding hand in its own, and as Jay watched, he saw it attach the hand to the missing spot beneath the cloak where its own left hand should have been. This was the Stitch Wraith that the party had heard about in the previous session, and it was out for blood. However, that's going to have to wait until next episode, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that when it gets uploaded, and if you're interested in what happened leading up to this episode, then I'll put a link in the doobly-doo to the entire playlist. Either way, I'll see you in the next video.